Hello?
But yeah, you lost me. Before all hell lets loose, because he's only 4 and my daughter's a single mother, and oh, it goes on. Anyway, here we go. I'd like to introduce Rachel Thomas from Adelaide, Australia. Rachel is currently residing in the UK. Welcome, Rachel.
Hi, Linda.
Right, so let's hear your story. When were you diagnosed?
I was diagnosed in November, December. I can't remember exactly which month. I think it was November, and I think it was probably the 25th, I think. Don't know. Memory's not that great these days. But yeah, I was diagnosed when I went back to Australia previously because I'd been on a working holidaymaker visa here in the UK.
Yeah.
I'd been told by a doctor that I might have MS. Even though they'd done all of the MRIs and all that sort of stuff, they didn't want to actually diagnose me,
Yes.
which I just couldn't understand. Mm-hmm. But then again, they were the early days, and I knew nothing about MS at that point. But when I went back to Australia, I went to my favourite doctor in the whole world and told him what they'd said. He was beside himself, sort of saying, "Oh, why would it happen to you? Why is it happening to you?" And sent me off to actually get the MRIs done. They did my spine, they did my brain, they did everything. And like my doctor said, how could they not have diagnosed you? You've got that many lesions, it's not funny. So anyway, scratching head, but that's how it all started.
So what was your life like before you had MS and your symptoms?
Stressful. But yeah, it was really, really active. Lots and lots of friends, lots and lots of parties, lots and lots of a million things all at once. And I worked as a recruitment consultant, and so there you get a lot of stress. But it was just really, I enjoyed being stressed. And that sounds really stupid. And when I look back on it now, I think, what the hell was I thinking? But I loved it. I loved living on the edge and having to actually have deadlines and meet things and go out and be under pressure from clients, be under pressure from where I was working, all that sort of stuff. But I loved it.
I must admit, my life before MS was also stressful, and I thrived on it. I thoroughly enjoyed the challenge, you know, because you were always being set these goals, you know, and
definitely.
you had to work hard to achieve them, and you felt you'd achieved something, you know, at the end of each day, which was
very much so
good. But the pressure and that really isn't good, is it? To pile that amount of stress on yourself.
No, well, I also know that looking back, I know that my life has been based on stress. My mother and father were very, very unhappy when I was a baby. Basically, everything in my mother's life has always been stressful. I think she's manipulated it that way. I don't think she knows anything else but that. My father, he's passed away now, but he really pressured himself a lot, and he was an athlete and an Australian-known athlete. And really pushed himself 24 hours a day, every day, and it's probably where I get it from too, but it's actually probably one of the best things in the world for me, that he set me up with that sort of work ethic and with that sort of high ideal, so that for me to actually find the treatments that actually work for me now and to push myself and not stay in bed and not sort of give up on life. And I had to really push myself to make sure that I found things. I just refused to take no for an answer. And that's just me, though.
Yeah. So what were your symptoms at the time of being diagnosed?
Well, for me, when they first sort of brought up MS as something to look at or be aware of, at that point it was because I was having all of those prickly feelings. You know, when you get like I don't know if it's happened to you, but I know probably people who are listening probably do know very much what I'm talking about. But the whole prickly thing where you can't even touch anything, it feels like you've got prickles coming out of your own fingers. And And so if you actually lean on something, the pain is just ridiculous. And then it was my thumb is where it started, my left thumb. And I couldn't feel, and even when I used to describe it back then, it just sounded stupid, but it's just, I couldn't even feel my own skin properly. It just felt like I couldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
Because it just felt numb. I could feel it, but it just felt like there was dead skin in between. Does that make sense?
It does. Well, my left-hand side was exactly how you're describing it.
Yeah.
And it was when I went to the toilet and wiped my bottom on the left-hand side, I couldn't feel anything.
Yeah.
Just, I didn't know, if I was doing it right because I couldn't feel. But also, my left breast was, as you explained, that awful sensation. And wearing a bra was so painful. It really, really hurt. It just, really uncomfortable, not very nice at all.
Well, it did explain when they sort of came up with that. It did explain heaps. And I know that when I first got to England and being under extreme pressure, I came over here without knowing anyone. Not having a place to stay, all that sort of stuff. I had to get all that organised when I first got here. And then get a job, and then get this. I had no money. And so it was, I suppose, really stressful, but I just didn't see it as that because I was so used to stress.
Yeah.
And then
you just saw it as a challenge, did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, who doesn't want international experience on your CV?
Yeah.
And so that's really why I came over here. I'm thinking, hey, I'm really good at what I do. It'll all be easy. I was kind of wrong. But anyway, living where I was living, I just worked out that I know that I was living in Croydon and I was living opposite a bus station. And I know that all of the pollution that was coming out of there, I could smell it, I could feel it on me every time I walked into the house. But I ended up I was diagnosed with having urticaria, which is like a posh name for hives.
Right.
And it was my first day in a new job, and I just sat there itching the entire time. I honestly couldn't stop itching. I just had... And I was just making all these great big welts all over my arms, all over my back, everything, and I couldn't sit still. And the weird thing is they didn't let me go home, which is kind of odd. I don't know. In Australia, we would tell people to go home because they're no use to you if they can't work. But it just flared up. All of a sudden, I couldn't explain it, anything else. Went to a doctor. She said that I had, basically, it was hives. But she put it down to me having been asthmatic. Now, like I said to her, I don't really get asthma all that much, only if I'm out in the cold air. That's the only time I get asthma. Or if I laugh too much, with it being cold air, or if I've been drinking wine, I tend to get a little bit of asthma. But these days I don't get anything like that. And I put down, I really think that the hives were a wake-up call for the MS. I really do. I think that's where my body was actually starting to go down that sort of route. But I can say that for any health problem that came up. I can pin it down to MS. But we know that, well, I don't know, in my feeling, because of CCSVI and all that sort of thing, I know that I've probably had it in my system for a very, very, very long time. It's just that coming to England, I think, set it off.
So how did you find out about LDN?
How did I find?
LDN.
Oh, LDN. Facebook. And I think this is MS. We're talking about it. I'm a bit of a research queen. I do tend to spend most of my life on the computer. And really came across, it was you, I think, first that I saw, and you said something about LDN, and then I saw Simon Congram.
Yes.
And with him giving updates about how he was going. And I also spoke to one of my other Facebook friends, Kelly, who was looking at going on LDN, and I think people were just talking about it. And of course, once I'd actually been twigged to looking at LDN, as soon as anyone said anything about it, I started researching, started listening to them, asking questions, annoying people, all that sort of thing. And really, I suppose it took for me not really knowing which doctor around here would prescribe LDN. I did ask my doctor, and he said that he didn't know much about it. And I know that when I spoke to my neurologist, he said that he knew that some of his other patients were using it, etc., but he couldn't really give me any of the details, and he himself wouldn't prescribe it, blah, blah, blah. But so I just waited until I went to the Essential Health Clinic in Glasgow, and when I went there for CCSVI scanning, they gave me LDN.
And had your symptoms deteriorated from being diagnosed to starting LDN?
Yeah, basically my symptoms had sort of been getting worse and worse and worse. So me going up to be scanned for CCSVI gave me the opportunity to sort of jump on both bandwagons at the same time and really give everything a bit of a try.
So when did you actually start the LDN?
It was July of 2010, so July last year.
Okay. Did you have any initial side effects when you started?
No, everything was fine. I was terrified that I would have side effects because I used to have really bad nightmares, really, really bad nightmares. And I had heard, I think in some online communities that you do tend to get nightmares. I thought, oh God, I can't cope with that because my other half was going away overseas. He leaves the country a lot for his work. Yeah. And so being left here on my own, I'm already kind of on edge. And I think that comes from someone not being able to be as mobile as they used to be. I do tend to get a little bit fearful.
Yeah. But I must say that most people who have sleep disturbance or vivid dreams, they're not usually nightmares as such.
Okay.
So for anybody listening, it's not it's not usually scary, and most people don't have side effects.
Yeah, I've never had anything like that. The only thing I've ever had was when we built my LDN dosage rate up to 4.5, and as soon as we did that, I found that I had no energy. I couldn't get out of bed, etc., etc., and so we had to take me straight back down to 4. Right. And then everything's fine. So I've found out that I can't go higher than 4.
Yeah. So how has LDN helped with your condition?
LDN for me has been a godsend. It hasn't helped me in lots of the other things that I've heard it sort of helps other people for, which I was hoping for. But it has taken away all the pain that I was going through. Because they had me on Avonex when I was first diagnosed, of course that means intramuscular injections. And with me, I ended up with that much scarring, it wasn't funny, because I was 2 years on Avonex. The Avonex itself actually, I believe, and studies do show, that it can actually make people's condition worse at some times. But for me, I think that's what happened, because I only started to get really bad once I was on Avonex. Now, with having said that, the intramuscular injections left a lot of scarring in my legs, and I think probably a lot of inflammation. And for me, the LDN, because I was lying in bed awake every single night with tears running down my face, I was convulsing, I couldn't sleep, I basically was a wreck. And so once I was on the LDN, from the moment I started taking it, that was it. There was no more pain. I could sleep. And I wasn't waking my husband. He wasn't having to sort of get up dreary-eyed in the morning. But yeah, LDN, I can't even go a day without it. There's just no way I'd ever not take it, because I need it.
So by that, I take it you won't be stopping anytime soon?
No, God, no. No way. Well, there's no reason to anyway. Really, it doesn't do anything bad for me. I've never heard of anyone having really bad side effects or anything like that. I've not sort of come across someone who said to me, "Oh, it caused this bad thing."
Yeah.
It just, to me, it just doesn't seem. I mean, I don't like the taste of it. I will be honest, because I don't do aniseed. I cannot stand it, and LDN tastes way too much like aniseed for me. But
Really?
taken with some really strong fruity cordial,
Mm-hmm.
it goes down really nicely, and you don't taste the badness for too long. Because I had heard how bad it tasted before I started it.
Well, I quite like it. I must be
Oh, well, you
a
must like
bit weird.
aniseed.
I do like aniseed,
There
but
you go.
but I can't tell it's got aniseed in it. So,
I could smell it. When I first picked it up, I opened the
but it
bottle.
doesn't actually have aniseed in it if you ask at the chemist, the
It just
pharmacist.
smells like it.
Yeah.
It tastes like it. I don't know, for me, it just...
I think it's the Naltrexone actually that you
Well, there
probably
you
you
go.
tasted.
Don't
It's
know.
a very bitter taste, Naltrexone on its own, and they use some flavouring to try and disguise that.
Well, that's okay. I'm just one of the people who doesn't do the taste. I really yuck. But I have cordial here. It's the only time I really drink anything that's really sweet or sugary is when I take my LDN.
Mm-hmm.
That's the only time, because I'm on the BDD. I sort of limit the amount of sugar that I actually put into my system. So that's okay. It gives me my excuse for having sugar.
And what would you say to other people who were contemplating starting LDN?
Oh, don't contemplate. Do it. Get on it as quick as you can. Just do it. And look, it won't hurt you, and you're not to know what it can do for you, because it's going to interact with you on an individual level. Because as we all sort of have come to know, with MS, unfortunately, what works for one person won't work exactly the same for the other. And